was Robert Louis Stevenson who wrote, "I travel not to go anywhere, but to go. I travel for travel's sake. The great affair is to move."
I'm setting out to join some of those travelers, heading from the Atlantic to the Pacific, hoping to meet people with interesting stories to tell about who they are, about how they live, maybe understand how they fit in to their part of the country.
11 days.
How you doing?
7,000 kilometers.
I thought I might do some fishing, yeah.
5 time zones.
Thanks for stopping.
No problem at all. Have a good, safe trip.
Travelers meeting travelers down long, sometimes lonesome roads.
94, I drove to Vancouver all along.
Did you? Why'd you stop?
Well, I look like a nice guy. Wouldn't do nothing.
Day 1, where the boat set out from the tiny fishing village of Purcell's Cove, Nova Scotia, not far from Halifax. My launch point too. This family will be back before nightfall. My place of rest, and the people I'll meet are left to chance.
How you doing?
Good, you?
All right.
Hitchhiking alone, I know, can be dangerous, so a crew shadows me. Although out on the road, I'm on my own, hoping someone will take a chance with a stranger.
One of the things that terrifies me is that I will be beside of the road and nobody will pick me up.
Just outside of Halifax, I meet another visitor to the Maritimes, an American.
As a general rule, I think Canadians treat Americans really nice, but they got to find out we're an American first.
Nancy Troutman grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, although later in life she discovered she also has Canadian blood.
My father came down to the United States, had nookie with my mother, and that's how that occurred.
Her father and mother were never married, neither is she. Nancy's small computer business is her life. That's why she's in Nova Scotia, looking to expand.
We've just about given up on Canada.
She's about to head home, frustrated by all of the red tape here, convinced a free trade agreement among Canada, the US, and Mexico has backfired.
The small companies that were successful with doing business with Canada preceded NAFTA. I think what we've done is created so many rules and regulations that nobody knows what I have to do business with Canada.
She would be the only woman offering me a ride on this trip.
Coming out of Nova Scotia and heading into New Brunswick.
Soon I'm winding my way into a new province with Rob Muse, who's wasting away a hot afternoon driving to work.
I know one thing, I wish I had air conditioning.
Yeah, I wish I had it too.
His job is taking him to the waters near New Brunswick, where he's helping build the fixed link to Prince Edward Island. When the project is finished, he'll pick up and search for new work. Rob is a free spirit who welcomes change, although as he journeys through life, his Acadian roots remain close to his heart.
We're overlooked because we don't make half this thing that what Quebec is making right now.
For that, Rob Muse is proud.
How do Acadians differ from Quebecers?
We're just quite content to keep our heritage but not try to change the rest of the world. People aren't really stupid. They come to your province and you only speak French. They're going to sort of figure there's something a little bit different about you. Well, hopefully that you get another ride and you enjoy your trip.
I'm dropped off in the only province in Canada officially bilingual. But as I travel in New Brunswick, along the salmon-rich Miramichi River, and north to the fishing villages of the Bay of Chaleur, it's clear 2 languages survive, not because of any government decree.
You really need it, that second language. It's handy. You're never stuck.
Folks here just seem to like it this way.
Je suis bilingue complètement. We go bang, bang. French, English. You know, it's Acadian, eh?
Ron Chamberlain once tried to leave this place and took a job in Ontario, but he didn't last very long.
I went into work one morning and I just snapped. I said to the boss, I'm going home.
After 25 years of working in mines in northern New Brunswick, he's retired.
Boys, look at that, eh? Can't keep that speed down.
Ron likes to move on the open road, a good guy to be with so much country still ahead of me.
Between here and Campbell, you better get your movie camera ready because the scenery is out of this world. It's really beautiful.
Jerry Guitar would prove true to his word.
Thank you very much.
Hope you get a drive pretty quick.
I hope so too.
Okay, bye.
Bugs are bad.
Yeah.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.
Ahead on this journey across Canada's mainland.
En français, c'est quoi? Hitchhike?
Faire du pouce. Faire de pouce. Ouais.
The road through Quebec. Two days of travel, and the Maritimes are behind me. 5 rides have put me on the doorstep of the Gaspé Peninsula and into the front seat with a truck driver named Robert Young. A francophone with an English last name because his father is English.
I like to speak English too, but I don't have the chance to practice much.
Not much chance to speak English around these parts, where Robert delivers lumber every week, back and forth through the Gaspé. He's new to this job. After years of working in the lumber yards, the layoffs started.
I had to do something, so I took a course and I bought my own truck. That's how I started.
He won't get rich, he says, but at least he has a job. Keeping his mind off the worries back home. A wife and 2 teenagers who are growing up while he's on the road.
If you're not worrying about your children, do you like them? Do you love them? Or you don't feel anything or what? So I guess even if everything's going well, you're gonna worry anyway.
Robert pulls into Rimouski. I keep going, hitching rides along the waterways traveled by the French explorers Cartier and Champlain nearly 500 years ago.
What is the big fish in the big with the water and
The whale?
Yeah.
The whale.
Yeah.
En français, c'est
Baleine.
baleine.
Ouais.
English, it seems, has hardly touched these parts. I catch a ferry to cross the St. Lawrence. The Maritimes have become a distant memory. Passing the time up top, Jacques Blanchette is watching for those whales that I was told about. We head out together for the Saguenay region, where Jacques has a swimming pool to fix. It's work, although it's not what he wants to be doing. He has his heart set on one day running his own farm in an independent Quebec.
Do you think separation would change life much for Quebecers?
Not that much. Not that much.
Jacques has traveled the country and has come to believe that Quebec would be better off on its own. We travel through the heartland of Quebec nationalism. In cities where federalists are about as rare as anglophones standing along the side of a road hitching a ride.
Je suis une journaliste.
It didn't take long, but we managed to find each other.
Mon français est pauvre, je m'excuse.
The anglophone and a federalist from the Saguenay region.
L'indépendance. C'est un grand mot, ça.
A retired barber named Laurent Boudreau, who's troubled by the talk of Quebec independence, but admits he spends more time worrying about his own state of affairs.
C'est triste. Après 38 années de mariage, là, on s'est séparés.
It's sad, he says, but after 38 years of marriage, he's separated.
C'est toutes les circonstances de la vie.
Why he left his wife, he can't explain.
Alors c'est triste, mon ami.
Laurent is on his own now and misses work, but says at least he has his health. We drift apart at Quebec City, where I head west along the river sailed by my ancestors who came from France nearly 400 years ago. They settled along the St. Lawrence, where the first family homestead is still standing.
Moi, je suis un descendant de Jacques et Elizabeth.
My roots are here in Quebec, but I've become an outsider. Generations before me headed west to English parts of Canada in search of opportunity. This part of my heritage has been lost. Cap Santé is just an hour-and-a-half drive from Montreal. I've already traveled nearly 2,000 kilometers, and the road to Vancouver is still a long one. The country is feeling big. Ahead on this journey across Canada's mainland, into Ontario, riding the rails. After hitching rides all the way to Montreal, I steal a page from Canada's past and hop on a train.
Welcome aboard train 33 for Ottawa.
A century ago, trains became the thread holding a new country together. Now many communities have lost their passenger service.
Good way to travel, good way to meet people.
There are fewer people like Pat Blythe these days who still consider the train a lifeline.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's really fantastic.
She rides the rails all alone. It's been this way for nearly a decade, ever since her husband died.
All of a sudden you're on your own. What am I going to do now? Decisions are hard to make because you're used to having somebody to talk this over with and say, am I making the right decision? Am I making the wrong decision? But you have to learn. You have to learn by your mistakes.
2 hours after leaving Montreal.
Thank you for traveling with Via Rail and have a good day.
I'm in Ottawa.
Thank you.
To join the travelers on the Greyhound heading north. Buses still go to the small towns in the middle of nowhere, long forgotten by the trains. Manon Saint-Jules is heading to northwestern Ontario to visit her family. She's a university student, trying to make a go of it at a time when many young people are struggling.
I know that things will change. I mean, I am a pessimist, but I'm not stupid enough to think that things will stay this way forever.
She's studying theater now in Montreal, but grew up a francophone in an English community and managed to keep her language and her culture in one piece.
I am just as French as the guy in Trois-Rivières or, in Montreal. And then I think that's what hurts the most is that Quebecois don't realize that.
She finds Quebec separatists operate too much on emotion, not enough reason. Manon will be hours on the bus, stopping in dozens of small towns before making it home. I need to make better time than this.
Okay, you got a clear shot all the way up there.
Okay, Ricky. Catch on arrival.
Into northern Ontario with Rick Presseau, a trucker who could almost run these roads with his eyes closed. 18 years he's been steering his rig along the Ottawa River, hauling lumber to pay the bills.
I always loved it, but now I'm not doing it because I love it anymore. I'm doing it because of the job.
It's a job that's had its share of tough times, like 5 years ago when he slammed head-on into a pickup truck that veered into his path.
I knew it wasn't my fault, so I'm not saying it's any better, but...
The driver of the pickup truck was killed. Police think it was suicide. Rick took a long break from the road, but came back.
Thanks for the lift. No problem. See ya. See you later.
Rick will pick up a load of lumber, drive the 6 hours to Montreal, then be back home with his family. I've been on the road almost 4 days and have made it to the doorstep of Ontario's north.
These mountains here, something beautiful when the leaves are changed.
The Trans-Canada Highway snuggles alongside Lake Superior, the largest of the Great Lakes. A part of the country where people like Michael Storzek have come to appreciate the value of long, lonely stretches of road and rugged beauty.
Like my stepson Gary took us through Toronto driving around. And I'm down here, pedal to the metal all the time, and he's going all over the place. And I said, where are you going, man? He says, I thought you would have shown me Toronto a little bit here. Slow down. This place is fast enough.
Come on, Laurie.
I used to ask my dad, what did he do when he was a kid on the reserve here? Basically, they used to just walk around on the reserve, and come here and play ball. Well, when I was a kid, that's what I used to do. When I was old enough, I got into boozing and drugs and that sort of thing. And when I look around now, I'm 43 years old, look around now, I see these kids doing the same thing.
There's kids like that out here too.
The North can be a difficult place to grow up, not just for Native kids, says Daryl Wardell.
We'll bring you in there, yeah. We'll show you our principal and everything.
He's on his way to school.
He's a real
different.
Yeah.
Why would I want to meet him then?
I decide to take a pass on the invitation.
Going to Thunder Bay.
And journey west, along the final stretch of road traveled by a young Canadian hero more than 15 years ago.
He stayed right with it, the whole time.
Cancer victim Terry Fox called his cross-country trek the Marathon of Hope.
I think if we all had as much courage as he has, we'd be all doing something.
He made it to Thunder Bay when the cancer came back. He died soon afterwards. The journey may have ended here, but the legend still lives.
It'll never be forgotten.
One man's courage, a humbling reminder on a cross-Canada adventure. Still ahead, the Highway West, along a trail well-traveled by people chasing dreams.
The heartland of country music is continuous country.
Someday I'm gonna ride in a Cadillac.
Day 8, the rolling roads of northern Ontario have given way to Canada's flatlands.
I'm in a truck, the sign to Brandon was about 69 clicks or thereabouts.
Hitchhikers are about as much a part of this landscape as a hill or a valley. There aren't many of them. Soon I begin to understand why.
You're never very sure what kind of a person you're gonna pick up, just what they're looking for. Whether they want a ride or whether they want your pocketbook.
Trust seems in short supply.
If they look rough looking and dirty, I just keep on going.
Still, trucker Bill Wimet takes a chance, looking for some conversation on the long road between Winnipeg and Calgary.
And you must wonder, where did all the time go?
Yeah, it travels fast.
He talks about how his family has grown up, even gotten bigger.
You've got grandchildren, I take it?
Yeah, I got 37 of them.
What?
37.
Wow. While he's been crisscrossing the country, 43 years of driving a truck. And he's still at it. I hop off and catch a lift with a busload of young people traveling the prairies, but chasing what they consider to be the American dream.
It's getting paid for something I enjoy doing. You know, not too many jobs you can say that about.
The manager of a minor league baseball team, riding the bus 18 hours with his players, from Minnesota to Saskatchewan.
The older you get, the harder it gets.
He and his players still dream of the private jets and the big money of the majors. Right now, they'll take the long bus rides. As long as they have the Prairie League, their dreams are still alive.
319 miles more. Kilometers.
The Trail West is a long one, all right. Hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, nothing but farmland. Eye-catching scenery for a maritimer who spent a lifetime working a farm near Moncton.
I always wanted to come out here when I was young. And I know if I had have come out here, I'd have never come back. I stayed here.
Bud and Eunice Steves, married more than 50 years.
How's your driver? A good driver?
Not bad. I have to keep him in line.
Yeah.
Taking one last run, coast to coast, in a camper.
What's the toughest part about getting older?
I guess you just can't remember what you're supposed to be doing all the time. That's my biggest problem. I walk out to the kitchen and say, "Now, what did I come out here for?"
You don't have to be old to be
Well,
I do the same thing.
It gets worse.
Bud and Una don't like to drive much past mid-afternoon. I journey on into Alberta, through Calgary, and to the foothills of the Rockies, where I come across the first hitchhikers I've seen in days. Danielle Rodriguez and Linda Hould have made it all the way from northern Quebec in just 5 days. It's desperation that's brought them this far.
What are you doing here?
We're trying to get work in Vancouver.
They packed most of what they own, including Danielle's fiddle, and headed west, chasing a long shot. They've made it to the Rockies, where hitchhiking never really became a lost art.
And you pick up hitchhikers. How come?
I don't know. I've hitchhiked before, and people have picked me up, so
And we're
I feel.
all there's 3 of us, so we're together. Like we
So
feel
if
safe.
anybody should be frightened, it should be me.
Yeah, exactly.
Into the Rockies, traveling through one of North America's final frontiers. The first Spanish explorers who came here nearly 200 years ago were attracted not by the beauty of the place, but by its potential as a fur trading post. Gold was discovered in British Columbia around the mid-1800s, and the fortune hunters flocked to this place. Gold may not be the attraction anymore, but the flood of fortune seekers hasn't stopped.
It's always been an adventure, take a risk, go to the west.
The final leg into Vancouver, with a person living the dream on the west coast. My road is coming to an end.
Here we are, 11 days, ocean to ocean. Look at that. Welcome to Vancouver.
In less than 2 weeks, I've gone from the Atlantic to the Pacific, across Canada's mainland. 6,487 kilometers, through 8 provinces, over a huge landscape as varied as the people living on it.
Looking backwards, I remember the cracks in all the paving stones.
It doesn't really take much of an excuse to get us going.
It's not a bad way to have it.
I hopped on 1 train, 3 buses, and hitched rides with 26 drivers.
Merci.
And found the biggest worries and the greatest joys still seem to come from family.
I don't know what I would have done without my parents. I mean, they've helped me out so many times, you know. Fall on your face, they pick you up, give you a little brush, say, okay, keep on going now.
What is the smallest nation? A family. If the family is not good, how can a nation be good? How can a whole population of a country be good?
At a time when people fear for the safety of their families, worry about crime, and talk about a lack of trust.
I'm very cautious when it comes to trusting people like strangers and things like that. I'm rarely giving people the benefit of the doubt.
There is still a sense of community.
Go ahead, try some.
And a friendliness that hasn't gone away.
This is lake trout from Lake Superior.
Oh, that's terrific. Nothing you can do about the black flies here, I guess.
Well, there are a few things. One's move out.
Yeah, right. Move to the south.
But that's a non-option as far as we're concerned, because we love the north. They're not here that long, just until the snowflies come.
You're a funny guy.
Canadians haven't forgotten how to laugh, even though too many are finding life to be a struggle.
I've done a few janitorial jobs, but other than that, I've got no experience with anything to get really a job that pays more than minimum wage.
Taxes. I think that's all we live for, is to pay for taxes. The things we gotta do, pay taxes and die.
Both not very pleasant.
They're both not pleasant at all.
The answers some are finding are out here, on the open roads. There are opportunities in a country so vast.
Very easy. First day I was here, I got a job, and I was here 22 hours and I got a job here.
We're only put on this earth once, so you might as well enjoy it.
Seems like you like life.
Yeah, I do. I enjoy myself.
Oh, Canada, the longest road I've known.
The road reaches out, an invitation to seek out new challenges, to take a chance.
The distances I've traveled out of Canada.